going on, guys? Welcome back to Troutfish Aquatics. Today we're going to talk about goldfish, specifically fancy goldfish, and how you can determine if they're male or female. Okay, so right now I'm sitting in front of my 75-gallon long tank, which, if you're not familiar, this is a 6-foot long 75-gallon tank. It's basically the same dimensions as a 55, but instead of 4 foot, it's 6 foot. And we're going to talk about goldfish and how you can sex them. So, sexing fancy goldfish is not very hard to do. There's two ways you can do it. One of them is about 75% accurate, and the other way is about 99% accurate. And I say 99 because I did have one fish fool me, and I own that fish, and I will show you guys that one in a little bit. But for right now, I'm going to talk about the first way that we can do it. Okay, so the first way that you can determine if a goldfish is male or female is visually. There are some key differences, and they're really not that hard to tell just by looking at them. Once you look at a lot of goldfish, you can really start to be able to pick it up just by looking at their body shape. So when I'm talking body shape, there's two ways you can look at it. You can either look at it from straight down, so if you were looking over the top of your tank and looking down into the water, you can look at the back of a goldfish, and the male goldfish, the curvature is a lot narrower, where a female, they're a much wider bodied, right? And they're going to look a little bit like this picture here. So if you look at that, you can see the male on top is a lot narrower bodied than the female on the bottom. She's much wider. And the reason for that is the females are holding eggs, right? So those eggs are really going to push out on the sides of that fish and make that fish a larger body. And back here behind me, this tank is all females and one male. So if you look, this is a female. You can see she's got a much larger belly on her. And if I can get the male to come over here, you know what? I'll feed them, and I'll get them to come all behind me. This is the male right here. You can see he's much skinnier bodied, as opposed to like this whitefish here. She's much larger bodied. You can kind of see that on camera. I can pick it up on it really quick, just because I know what I'm looking for. But you can see that he has a narrower body than she does. Right? You can see the curvature on the belly here and here, and you know, he's much narrower. So the other way you can look at it is you can look at the vent of the fish. So basically you're going to want to look at the fish's butt, and you're going to be looking for the egg tube. Now on male goldfish, the easiest way I can explain this, right, is if you think of it like a belly button. So the male goldfish is going to have an innie, and the female goldfish is going to have an outie. And you'll see what I mean by that if you look at this picture here. So that's kind of a crude drawing of what it looks like, but if you look at those bottom two images real good, you can see the difference between the male and the female and what an innie and outie would be. But if you want a couple more natural looking pictures, you can look at these. This one here is going to be the male. And this one right here is going to be the female. So you can kind of tell by looking at those with the innie and the outie being the female and the innie being the male. And that way is 99% accurate. So you can do that with the fish swimming around like this. You don't have to take them out of the tank. You know, as they swim by, you just look at their butt and you can see the egg tube sticking out, or it'll be concave, and it'll be a male. It's really, really quite obvious. Now, I'm going to take you out in my kitchen to my 55-gallon tank, and I'm going to show you guys the fish that fooled me and talk about that a little bit. And that's going to be with my Tamasaba Ryukins. Okay, so I'm out in the kitchen with my Tamasabas. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably butchering it, but okay. So these are my Tamasaba goldfish. And a Tamasaba is a Ryukin with a single tail. So they're not a fantail, they're just a single tail like a regular goldfish, but they have the body of a Ryukin. And they're quite rare, which is why I bought these 3 when I saw them. And if you look, you can kind of tell this one and this one have very large bodies. They've got the nice curvature, and they have the egg tube sticking out. Their outies, their vents are protruding, so they are quite plainly females. And this one here is much smaller bodied, a lot narrower, right? And when you look, it's an innie, which would make that a male. Now, I've had these goldfish for about 1.5 years, and I've been doing everything I can to try and get them to breed. And normally to do that, they're seasonal spawners, so throughout the spring, summer, and fall, they're going to spawn about once a month. And all of my other tanks for my goldfish, I can simulate those temperatures by putting a heater in it, turning it on for a month, then turning it off for a month, and then turning it back on for a month. And that's going to simulate the season changes, and it'll cause a spawn. But I've been doing that with these guys, and I've never had them spawn once. And after looking into these fish a little bit and watching them and watching their characteristics and trying to manually spawn them, hand spawning them, I never got anything out of the male, but I was getting eggs out of the 2 females. So I couldn't figure out what was going on. So a couple weeks ago, I was really looking at these fish, and I sat here, and the male was eating, facing away from me. So I got real close and was really looking, and come to find out, he is a she. And she has an innie, like a male would, but the egg tube is still protruding, but it doesn't protrude outside of the body like all the other female goldfish do. It's still on the innie, poking out. So it doesn't extend all the way out, it's only out a little bit. So, come to find out, I have 3 female tamasabas, and I cannot breed them. I now have the journey of trying to find a male so that I can do that. So, hopefully I can find one. Alright guys, that's pretty much it for this video. So that's basically how you determine the sex of a goldfish, whether it's a male or a female. And, leave a like on the video. Go ahead and comment down below. Let's talk about it. Let's see if you've ever had trouble or messed up determining the sex of one of your fish and it ended up not working out for you. So, I do have more videos coming up. The next one I'm going to be doing, hopefully, I have a little test that I'm going to do between a Aqueon water changing system, a Python water changing system, and my DIY water changing system. And we're going to pit them up against each other and see how quickly they all fill and drain tanks, and see which one is actually better and more worth it for your money. So until then, I will see you guys in the next video.